Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I am Scott Anderson.
This week we're joined with Christopher Wook, a.k.a. Wookie, a fellow team member from Android Authority, and we're also joined with returning guest Jonathan Franklin. Welcome, guys.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
You know what, Wookie, and I'm sorry, I'm going to call you Wookie the whole show.
That's absolutely fine. That's what everybody else does.
It's good to have you here, man. Wookie is now a close personal friend of mine. We met, we bonded at CES. We were roommates. We drank beer together. We walked around and we walked around and filmed all sorts of cool Android stuff together. He's the guy that tried to make my bad interview skills look good. So
I still think they were good interview skills.
You know what? Those YouTube comments are harsh. I know I'm not an interviewer in person. I know how to do this in Hangouts and interview. But when I'm put on the spot saying, hey, what's this device, and tell me all about it, and I don't know about it, I had a hard time.
It's tough to do. I don't think a lot of people would have done any better in that situation.
To be fair, YouTube can be harsh on some of the most impressive videos you've ever seen in your life. So.
Oh, come on. YouTube comments, they're always, very insightful.
It's like Reddit.
Yeah, and I think half the battle was the fact of that you got to deal with all those media people too, and some of them knew what they were talking about, some of them didn't.
Oh yeah. So, all right, let's get started. So, what do we have on the plate this week here? Well, we have a little bit of Android ecosystem news as always. Larry Page said some funny stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we have all sorts of app updates as usual. The usual Google updated a handful of apps and a handful of other useful apps that we'll talk about were released this week and updated this week as well. A little bit of carrier news, and then we're going to spend a bulk of the show talking about rootin' and ramen. We had one of our viewers this past week ask us, what are some benefits of rooting? And we've gone over this on the show before, but he wanted to know more about, so once you root and you put it on a custom ROM, let's say, is that it? Is that the only reason that you rooted, or So what are some of the must-have root apps, or why do these apps require root, and some apps don't? And what is the benefit of using a root app? So we'll BS about that and try to answer any questions any of you guys have, as well as answer his questions. So what you can do is you can go ahead and queue up some questions on our comments on this post, or I'm going to announce it every week I say I'm going to, and I always forget. You can join in on the IRC channel that we've had for eons and we've never used. So we're gonna start trying to use that just because why the hell not? So I put the web chat link in the comments. It's just Freenode, IRC, IRC, and channel Android Authority. We have a handful of people already there and ready. So all right. So let's get started. Scott, since you're the app guy, do you want to talk about some apps that were updated this week, and then we'll hit Larry Page here in a minute?
Let's start out with Chrome Beta for Android. Basically, it's gotten 3 updates in the past week. So it was launched on the 10th, then got another update, and today it just got another update. It is improving speed and less bugs. That's basically what I get out of it. I mean, it is increasingly becoming quicker and more usable than the stable build, in my opinion, which typically, with the desktop, dev channel is typically faster, a little bit more bugs. I don't see many bugs in the beta, but they're getting rid of them, so that's awesome. You guys starting to use Chrome Beta at all?
Yeah, I've been using it since it did dropped, and I've gotten the 2 or 3 updates, however many it's had so far, and it keeps getting better and better. Personally, I haven't seen any issues, but some people, they have. It works great. I love it. It's faster. It's noticeably faster, than the current version of Android. I've actually replaced it as I said Android, current version of Chrome. I've actually replaced it as my main browser. I actually uninstalled standard Chrome today and said, you know what, I'm done. It works good enough for me, so I only have Chrome Beta on my phone right now and on my Nexus 7.
Same here. I did that uninstall today.
I've seen a lot of
gotta
people
admit,
noting the. I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
I've got to admit, I'm lame. I've been using the standard version, but after hearing you guys talk about it, I think I might switch over to the beta and see what's up there.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to running things in beta. That's just it's stable enough for government work.
Yeah, that's why I feel kind of silly about it. But I've just it's worked well enough. I haven't noticed anything I don't like. But on the other hand, I'm used to running cutting edge ROMs, so I probably should switch over to something a bit more on the edge, just because it's what I'm used to.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about those cutting edge ROM things here in a little bit.
Yeah, so Google Currents got an update as well. Bug fixes as usual, reduced data usage, and also added an unsubscribe to the overflow menu, which is nice, and you couldn't really do that easily before.
So those of you that are rocking Ingress, we're going to actually give away some Ingress invites here in a little bit.
How many?
We have two to give away. So,
Ooh.
and
Wait, am I going to give out the codes and butcher it, or are we going to have somebody else give out the codes?
Yeah, I think we learned a couple months ago that you're not allowed to give anything away.
Nope. Never
So,
again, Scott. Never
Yeah,
again.
have a nice
so
thing.
I'm going to think of something. I'm going to either do one of two things. I haven't decided yet. It's either going to go to the first person that answers a question correctly, or it's going to have an all-out war, and I'm going to paste them in the comments, and the first person that gets it gets it. Wars are fun. Questions are cool, too. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. But so anyways, so Ingress was updated this week. Bug fixes, yada, yada, but some neat things that improve memory usage, and the app actually runs a lot better on various devices, such as devices with Adreno GPUs. So it's going to run better, going to run a little faster, better graphics, and XMP explosion animation is actually kind of cool now. But they nerfed bursters. They don't do as much damage anymore. So that kind of stinks if you're trying to take over something, and you damn enlightened. I gotta resist. Gotta take over your fields. Anyways,
Derek is obsessed.
I've had a busy week. I haven't actually played Ingress in a week, Scott. So
No, you gotta.
and you know what? Last week when I was out at CES, when I first got there, not when I first got there, but a few hours after I got there, I pulled out my phone and was looking for portals, and I sent a message. I was like, "Don't worry, Las Vegas, I'm here to save the day," or something corny like that. You know what I mean? And I didn't, I didn't even get that. I was too busy geeking out and partying to actually play Ingress in Vegas.
I don't think at a place like CES you would have even have a chance of having an impact.
Oh, I know. How many people there were probably doing the same thing,
A
right?
good many, I'm sure.
There's gonna be a lot of people here. Let's just reap havoc.
Yeah. So, AirDroid, popular remote control Android app. I don't actually use it, but it was updated this week. Any of you guys actually use AirDroid? Want to talk about it?
Yeah, AirDroid. I used the original non-beta version. Basically, what it is, it's a application that if you're on the same Wi-Fi network, you can go to your browser, go to a predetermined website, and log in with your phone. And basically, it mirrors everything, so you can access your messages, your contacts, your photos, your videos, transfer them to your PC very easily. And basically what this version came out with was you can see your camera, kind of a remote control camera, so you can hook up your phone to it, and in your browser you can see like a video camera from your camera, which is kind of cool if you're like doing surveillance or something. Kind of cool. A lot of cool features added, and I don't use it all the time, but it is nice for file transferring on large files and certain things. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
So what other apps do we have updated this week, Scott? Since you're our app guy.
Well, I'm gonna give this one to Franklin.
Press, it's a Google Reader application, got updated. It's pretty significant. This is an app that launched in December. They basically answered the majority of the all the requests that all the users had off the initial version. You got quick article navigation to go to the next and previous articles. You can set background or automatic syncing based on a time interval, and you can limit it to either Wi-Fi only or cell data. And you can sync on app launch now. You get syncing notifications, text alignment options, and just a lot of other various little performance enhancements and bug fixes are typical with an update. But it's turning into a really nice full feature.
Now,
It's a beautiful app, actually.
I used to use Google Reader until I got my Nexus 7. I mean, I still use it on the web, but in terms of an Android app, I don't use it anymore. Once I got my Nexus 7, I tried to move over to Currents, and I like Currents now. I use Currents every day. I kind of had to force myself to like it, and now I actually do. But I miss sometimes the simplicity of Reader, so I might have to check out Press. I've heard about it, but some people were saying they wanted some extra features, and now it sounds like they've added them all.
The developer team is pretty active, and they've been very responsive and very, they've approached it with a good attitude. So, it's a paid app, but I'd say it's totally worth supporting them.
Okay. How much is it in the Play Store?
I think it's $2, $1.99.
$1.99.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, especially not for what you're getting out of it. It's a great app.
Yeah, I just don't.
Can I ask you guys, as somebody who does use Google Reader, would you recommend checking out Press? Because I'm willing to spend the $2 on it. It seems interesting. I'm not a fan of Currents. I kind of prefer the more.
I would say if you're the type of user to burn through a lot of RSS feeds, Press probably isn't the one that you're going to, if you want really compressed lists to take in a lot of content at the same time, I wouldn't say Press is your app. I'd say go more like G-Reader or, Deer Reader, some of the newer ones. Like, they're just minimal Reader is good too, but Press is good if you're following fairly condensed, not extremely overloaded, with a ton of articles to have to go through. It's a great app.
Yeah, I probably read about 300 articles a day, so
I wouldn't say Press would be your favorite reader if you're burning through that much news. It's not the quickest way to do it anyway.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to know.
All right, so apparently a very popular banking app was launched on Android, and John, you were talking a little bit about this pre-show. It's called Simple, and they work with banks to bring online banking.
Yeah, I forget the exact way that they split the interest with their partner banks in order to actually make their money. The application's been on iOS for about 8 months, and they just now came out with an Android version. It's worth noting that the service itself is still invite only. You're going to have to put your name on the list or be a customer already. But the Android app this is not a port. It's written from scratch specifically for Android. It's a beautiful application.
Is it a Holo app?
Very much so.
Okay.
Not 100%. They added their own customizations, but not in a ugly or gaudy way.
So do we have Android share button? Well, I guess you probably won't have a share button in a banking app.
It has everything you'd expect out of Holo. Just some of the
background we have the menu up in the top right corner. We don't have
those are more customized, not just straight up like Holo Light or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. A lot of apps. I always talk about Turntable, and Flipboard whenever it was in beta. When those two apps came over from iOS, they were just straight up, iOS ports. They looked exactly like iOS. They didn't look like that you were on Android. And since then, they've completely redone those apps, and they look a lot more Android-esque.
You're not going to get any feel of iOS to this application. It just has like its own little gradients and stuff.
All right. There. So, who doesn't like cloud storage? I live in the cloud. I store all my docs, all my music, and with Google Music, everything in the cloud. Mediafire, a popular file hosting, I guess, and sharing application, released their Android app, and it's not bad. It's not horrible for their first first run. Actually, I think they had an update already. But it's not bad for their initial release. You know, it has everything that you would normally want in an app, minus, I'd say, two key features. One, it's not a hollow app. And two, if you want to sync a whole bunch of files, you can't multi-select. You have to manually select, so that kind of stinks. But it's a nice app, and the coolest thing about it, it's 50 gig. So that's a lot of space. I mean, if you need space, 50 gig, you can't beat that, and it's free. You know, and they do have paid plans if you want more and so forth.
50 gigs got boxed to get a lot of users that otherwise would have been on Dropbox. So.
Yeah.
Also, kind of a lesser service, but Minus is a good service that I use as well. I got 50 gigs on that as well.
Oh yeah, everybody gives you this, you know, the free 50 gig. You know, you got Minus, you got SugarSync, you know, there's everything. There's so much personal cloud storage available. Now we just need to get some really nice apps that throw everything together into one like massive drive, so you can, you know, you don't have to say, you know, where am I sharing that file? Is that on Dropbox or is that on Minus? You know, it just puts everything together in one drive and have an app. Or I know there's apps available, but they're not.
I'd like to have a remote control app so the server would download a URL that I point to it instead of having to download my computer and then upload to it. Just shoot it directly over.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, so let's take a break from talking about boring apps here and go back to talk about the Android ecosystem here. And, so Larry Page recently was interviewed, and during the interview, you know, they said, so how do you think Apple's thermonuclear war is going on Android? And he basically said, well, so how does it look like it's going? You know, I mean, you know, when 70%, some insert massive, insanely high number here of the mobile market is running on Android, how do you think their nuclear war is going? You know, I mean,
he was pretty aggressive on the whole interview. Well, not really aggressive, but very confident in that entire interview. Now I like seeing that out of him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He directly said that Facebook is doing a bad job on their products, and he's right.
Yeah, basically what he did for me is kind of just get me excited about, you know, what's coming next and, you know, how they combat other things. He did mention that a lot of other platforms were copying or using the same features that are used in Google+, which was very interesting and very true. But it's good to be noted that he or them as a company are bringing up the other platforms and giving users, you know, more competition and more features, which all in all, great for users no matter what platform you're on.
So, you know, this week it must be a slow week. We're not having a whole lot of interaction in the comments. So I think we need to do something to give away an Ingress code and get those comments flowing. So let's think of a question here. Let's think of a question surrounding Ingress, since it is an Ingress code giveaway. All right, Scott, while I get a question here, why don't you talk about a little bit about Carbon, not the rootin' and ramen Carbon, or not the backup Carbon, the other Carbon, or John.
John, you talk about it.
Yeah, so the continually rumored Twitter application, and this is an application that existed on WebOS and Windows Phone for a short time, and he randomly, posted on his Twitter, said, "We're back, we're listening," and this application has been promised for over a year, and it's been over 6 months since the first release window came and went. So, kind of, take it with a grain of salt. And he said, he says it's coming. He said it's coming before. Just keep your eyes open. I honestly think it seems like Falcon Pro, for most of the people that are heavily using Twitter, seems to be extremely popular, and every
Yeah,
user that uses it seems extremely happy with it. It's going to be hard to present anything that's that's of all the good Twitter apps, Falcon Pro just doesn't really seem to do a whole lot wrong in the user's eyes. So
and
All right,
Falcon Pro
so we had a
immediately blew up too. It didn't take really that long from it to go from a beta that, it started off as a widget and nobody really cared about it when it was a widget, and then it had its beta app, and then all of a sudden it's one of the biggest Twitter apps on Android in,
it's the
what
same.
has it been? Not even 2 months.
Yeah, it's the same developer that did Minimal Reader the exact same way. It started off as a widget, and people liked it so much that he just decided to take it to a full-blown app. It's a great app. Both of them are great apps.
Yeah, it's the only Twitter client I use now. I spent a long time going through a lot of them, and actually I don't use Twitter that much, but still when I do, I use Falcon Pro.
It's top notch, really. So, Derek, you want to elaborate on Kush's version of Carbon?
Yeah, so there's another Carbon available. Maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, on the show we talked about Kush, from Clockwork Mod, was coming up with a way to sync Android app data and backup data to the cloud, to cloud storage locations, as well as you can download it locally on your computer on your local network. So he released
Then it comes, and then it's kind of like, oh, wait, that's it.
Yeah. So
It's a fun game.
yeah, they're coming out with another iteration, I believe, on the 24th of January.
So we are back now. We had a technical difficulty. We are back. Yeah. So let's make sure that we are actually viewable again, and the technical difficulty is over. Yeah, we are. All right, we're back. So so we'll give you a few seconds here, and then we're going to give away an Ingress code. I decided that because I had the technical difficulty, people might not be synced up right now, so I don't want to say a question in the hangout here on the show because someone might not be watching it. But people are watching comments. They'll get the notification. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create all sorts of havoc here. So what you want to do is you want to open your Ingress app right about now, and you want to go to the original Android Authority post sharing this on Google+, not a reshare, not on YouTube, and you want to find that post. It says Android Authority on Air, episode 47, coming up on 1 year. And you want to look for the code that is now in chat. And good luck. That's code number 1. The end of the show, we'll think of something more exciting, I promise. All right, so let's move on to some meat here. Let's talk about some carrier news. Is that meat? All right, so carriers are continuing to LTE all the things. We know this. You know that's pretty much what that's what they're doing right now. And Sprint announced that 28 new LTE markets are going to be going live in the next few months. Seeing as they are one of the smaller LTE deployments, that's cool. And the smallest LTE deployment here in the U.S., T-Mobile, because they don't have any, they announced that.
It's pretty bad when you're behind Metro PCS.
Yeah, but their HSPA Plus network's extremely fast,
Yes,
so they don't really need LTE, but they're getting.
Honestly, they really do not need LTE.
Well, maybe for better ping times and faster uploads. That's really about it.
True.
LTE advanced, basically.
So their roadmap is for their LTE rollout. It's kind of similar to their HSPA Plus rollout. They're going to hit large metropolitan areas first, and the first places they're looking at are Las Vegas and Kansas City, and that should be coming in a few days.
Yeah, and their rollout is kind of mirrored to their HSPA Plus and what they did with that.
Yeah.
So they're going to be blanketing the markets that they currently have fast HSPA Plus in. So.
All right, so let's get to the rootin' and ramen section of the show. Like I said earlier, if you didn't catch it, we had a user contact us this past week. He wanted to know, what are some of the tools, some of the reasons for rooting, and once you root, then what? What apps can you use? What are some of the available apps? What are some of the apps that we use as people that have rooted devices, do root devices? There is a go-to root app, or do we just root just to run a custom ROM and maybe, or just to remove carrier and OEM crap, and that's it. What do we do once we root? So we've talked about similar stuff like this on the show. Why or why not, and that's really up to you. So what I want you to do, let us know in the comments why you root and what apps you use, and then we'll compare that to our list here in a minute. So if you're watching, let us know why you root, what reason, not just to, because I can. There has to be an underlying reason. And then let us know what apps you use. What are your favorite root apps that require root access? So as we asked our viewers that in the comments, let's ask Jonathan Franklin that. And so John, let's say you have ADB installed, you have Fastboot installed, or you have the Unlocker toolkit, or insert application name here to root your phone, whatever it may be. I know your Note 2 was a little harder than most, as well as the HTC DNA.
Exploit required for the Verizon.
Yeah. So some phones are easier to root than others. Some tablets are easier to root than others. If it's a Nexus device, you look at it and it roots itself almost.
The majority of Samsung devices are pretty easy.
Yeah, with Odin, I guess. So some devices are, we'll say scale 1 to 10, 1 being the hardest, 10 being the easiest. Some are, I guess that's kind of backwards. That doesn't matter. So some of them are, on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the easiest, they're a 10, and those are your Nexus devices. Then you have, Sony devices with unlocked bootloaders and Samsung devices with unlocked bootloaders. They might take a few extra steps. We'll say maybe like a 7 or an 8. Then you have, some mid-range devices on carriers that they don't want you to unlock the bootloader, but there's an easy exploit for it. Maybe that's like a 4 or 5, and then you have things that are locked down tighter than anything you've ever seen before. They're eventually going to get unlocked, but they're not for the everyday, average day, user. It's something that if you do a step wrong, you could brick your phone, and those are the ones that you might want to stay away from if you're not experienced. If it's a 5 or lower, we'll say there's a general there's a very you can't hurt your device in that case. I mean, it's so easy, and especially if it's a Nexus device, you can't brick those. I mean, you really can't. You have to try your damnedest. You have to really say, I'm going to brick this thing today. Like, and maybe you try to install init.t on it or something. I don't know what you do, but a Nexus device is really hard to brick. But anyway, so like, the HTC DNA is pretty hard to root compared to other devices. The DNA, I just said that. What do you have, John? The Note 2, yeah. On Verizon, that's a little harder than normal. So, anyways, so you spend all this time.
Tend to be very difficult.
Yeah. So
Droid X was fun.
Droid X was easy. You ran z4 root.apk.
Not when it got the gingerbread.
When it got the gingerbread when it got the gingerbread update, you had to use Pete's something.
It was horrible.
It wasn't that bad.
I remember hearing so many people that bricked that phone.
All right. So, you know what? You could always SBF that thing back to stock. That thing was almost unbrickable. All right. So, anyways, So unbrickable for some people. So John, you spend all this time. You risk ruining your device. What's the first thing you do whenever you rooted it? What did you do?
Usually the first thing I do if I'm on. It depends on what.
Phone.
It depends on the phone. It depends on because back when I had my Nexus, I just unlocked the bootloader and rooted it stock, and there really wasn't a lot that I wanted to do to it at first. I just wanted to have it. I did install a custom recovery, and pretty much left it like that. With the Note 2, usually, and it also applied to a lot of other, other carrier phones I had. Titanium backups usually the first thing I do to freeze applications. And there's not it depends on the phone as to what applications I really want, whether I want a kernel. Do I want to flash a custom kernel? I've been pretty happy with the stock kernel on the Note 2 because the battery life on it's just, really, really good.
All right. Well, with regards to apps, let's just kind of go through the apps.
Yeah.
There's plenty of apps,
Yeah. I mean, there's GMD gesture control.
So what does that do?
Basically, it allows you to create your own custom gestures, whether it be 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 finger, or if you want to do like a 2 finger tap, 1 finger tap. Basically, touch interface, customize it to the nth degree, and it's really, really nice. There's a light version, so you can try it out if you want. The only thing about the light version is the fact that it has a non-killable status bar notification. So if you want to buy it, that goes away. But it's really nice. You can do a lot of different things with it. It's fun to play around with too. Goo Manager is another app that I install. Download.
Goo Manager has multiple functions. For those of you that don't know, it's a Goo Manager, ROM Manager. That they install custom recoveries such as Twerp and Clockwork Mod, depending on which app you're using, and they also provide ROM updates for supported ROMs, and that they let you install a ROM through automated steps. So if you're not, I think everybody that is should be familiar with it in the beginning, and then you can get lazy and use automation. But I think it's nice to do it manually in the beginning, so you're learning as you go. In case you ever encounter a problem, you're not relying on something. So, anyways, as Scott was saying, Goo Manager and then ROM Manager, they allow you to install your apps. You can pick your ROMs. They'll install it for you basically. You can automate it.
Yeah,
which is nice.
And then another benefit to rooting in ROM is kernels. You can flash your own kernel. You can check out kernels on forums and flash away.
So, those of you that don't know what kernels are, because a lot of people don't, kernel is, think of it as the piece of the software, the piece of the ROM, the piece of the Android, that's actually the Linux piece, that communicates with the hardware. It sits between the hardware and Android, and basically. So why would you want to install a custom kernel? The main thing is battery life and performance. What people will do is they'll undervolt something. They'll steal juice basically from something, whether that be Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, audio, or the actual processor itself. They'll undervolt something hardware to use less battery power. Undervolting, not giving it as much juice, means you have a longer lasting battery. And a lot of the times it's a gamble, because not every phone can be undervolted the same way. Obviously they're all stamped out in the same factory, but you might be able to undervolt your DNA Wookiee more than I can undervolt mine, and vice versa. Yeah. That's just how it is. So you got to undervolting really requires a lot of playing around, but you can get a lot of battery life out of it. You can, and as well as overclocking to increase graphic performance, increase overall phone performance as well. So some people will have a kernel that's overclocked and undervolted. People will say OC and UV like in the kernel notes, and you can also have additional functions added as well.
You can change like the read-write speeds, priorities over certain things.
Yeah.
You can also turn on like more power if you are on a poor Wi-Fi connection. It'll push more power to the Wi-Fi and allow a better connection. Also, fast USB charge. That's a
think of it. I mean, it's just extra tweaks.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have to run a custom kernel, or you can run a custom kernel and then not touch any of that stuff. You can just use the recommended settings. We'll say.
Yeah, some popular kernels: Franco kernel, Lean kernel,
Tiamat. Which we're talking about kernels. Where in the hell is Dan Charlton? He is our kernel dev, and he would.
He misses the one hangout that he could really elaborate on.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Well, Tiamat, I built for 67 HTC devices, and he and the Nexus 4." All right, so what other root apps are out there, Scott?
Wi-Fi tether for root users. I use that one personally. It allows you to, let's say you're going to start your Wi-Fi tether, limit it by amount of time. So how long it's been running, you can turn it off after a pre-designated amount of time, or you can turn it off after a pre-designated amount of data. So let's say you're opening a Wi-Fi tether. Let's say you got a limit on your data plan, or you only want to give out so much data. You can allow it to give out to the public and limit it by how much data you want to give. That's kind of cool. Also, you can just set your passwords and stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff. Widgets, everything. Titanium backup.
I would say that's probably one of the #1 reasons that people root. Now there are alternatives to that, such as Simple ADB Backup, which I shared a post about that earlier, and then Carbon, Kusha's app that we were talking about, soon will allow backups without root. So it's becoming not as so much as a priority. I would say back in the day, somebody would say, yeah, I rooted my XYZ device so I could use Titanium Backup to back up my game data or my app, insert app here, this app data. And so Titanium Backup was a very popular reason for people to root. It's becoming less...
At the top of the paid apps list.
Yeah, it's becoming less... soon, I would say, it'll become less of a requirement almost.
This is something that Google should have done long ago, is create some kind of desktop software to...
Well, I hate to say it, but this is one thing where iOS actually has Android beat. This iOS, with you have to install iTunes, but you know what? I don't have Android software name to install that I can sync all my stuff to. So iOS does have us beat there, and that's nice. Have I ever used it? No, I've never used an iOS device, but I know it's available. So maybe we'll see that someday. Who knows?
Another app, Attaway. Basically, if you got root privileges, you can write host files to reject that IP or that host. And
so what that does is a little technical, nerd info here. So what it does is in your host file, it writes, let's say, a website, a company, a domain that is known to serve advertisements. It changes the IP address locally to be resolved to a local address. So if the IP address is, for example, 1.2.3.4, if that's the IP address of bigadcompany.com, so in your host file, you'll put bigadcompany.com and have it resolved to local host a lot of the time. And local host is 127.0.0.1. So it just makes these being resolved locally, and obviously you're not running an ad server on your phone, and they don't work. I mean, the same practice has been used for years and years on desktop computers. When you install, I don't know, like Spywat Search and Destroy, used to do that years ago. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
S&D.
Probably another application. This is available on non-rooted devices, but gains functionality when rooted, are applications like Tasker or Locale. Because after Gingerbread came up, you had to have root access to be able to control the GPS module and do other things. So it really kind of expands your ability to take full control over your device and create certain actions and certain circumstances that will create a trigger to pretty much automate your entire device. And root really is a requirement to get 100% functionality out of an application like that.
Another one is Wi-Fi kill. This one's kind of a gray area.
Well, yeah, so the next couple apps I want to talk about are, as Scott said, gray area apps. You can use them for evil, or you can use them for good.
I don't know how they can be used for good.
I know exactly how they can be used for good. So let's say...
Oh, Wi-Fi kill. How can that be used for good?
Wi-Fi kill? Let's say I'm a dad. I am a dad. Let's say I'm an older dad that has a son that's a teenager, and he's on Wi-Fi.
I get where you're going with this.
And I don't want him to be using Wi-Fi anymore because he's grounded. He's being bad. So I'm gonna be a tech mean dad, and I'm gonna open up Wi-Fi kill, and I'm gonna use it to drop his network connection on his device. So it does have a good use. It does. I mean, is there any other good uses? Who knows? Or you could use it to wreak havoc too. I'm not suggesting you do, but
Public places.
Those are that obviously you don't have to do bad things with it. It can be used for good as well. Maybe you have a connection, a dead connection on your home network, and you don't know what it is. You want to kill it to make sure you don't have a neighbor or something using your network. But you should lock those down anyway, so that should never happen. Droid sheep, and face sniff. Those applications are root-only applications, and to be honest with you, I'm having a tough time thinking of why those apps can be used for good right now. Penetration tests, I guess. They can be used as a proof of concept for your company's website that they're not using proper SSL encryption. There you go. There's the.
So what do they do?
Man, I haven't used those apps in like 2 years.
Basically, what it does is on your Wi-Fi network, if it's not as SSL encrypted, let's say somebody logs into Facebook,
they do man-in-the-middle attacks, is what they do.
Yeah.
This is mostly going to happen if you're in a place like Starbucks or something like that with an open network.
Or you can use it on a protected network as well.
I'm trying to think of the actual term for that. I mean, hell, I actually wrote an article a year ago on Google Plus talking all about them and how they worked and what they did. I don't even remember what they actually do, how they actually work. That's pretty bad. All right, so there you go. In the comments, let me know what they're actually doing for how they're actually hijacking the SSL session. I don't remember exactly what they're not doing. Router spoofing, or maybe they are. They're spoofing MAC address spoofing or ARP. That's it, ARP records. They're doing ARP spoofing. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I can't give away the Ingress code for that. All right, we'll think of something else. ARP spoofing. Okay. Which, if you block router broadcasting, all you network admins out there, if you block router broadcasting and router acknowledgement requests, these applications actually won't work on your network. So just a little hint, you can turn those off. That's my day job coming out there. Now, there's another app that has a gray area too. There's a root-only app that that I like, and I've actually used before. It's a penetration testing app by a company called Zimperium out of Israel. The application is called ANTI. It used to stand for, I think they changed their name though. It used to stand for the Android Network Toolkit, and it's awesome. It can be used for bad, but it's not intended to do that. They actually debuted it maybe 2 years ago at DEF CON, and actually I worked on the beta on that, the private beta, and a whole bunch of us from MIUI.us worked on it, and we all got private beta access and was testing it while it was being developed, and it was a lot of fun. But the applications are used for penetration testing, or for bad, but it's depending on how you use it. But they do man-in-the-middle attacks. They do they'll scan your whole network and show you on your whole network where a vulnerability is. So for your network admins or even home computers, you have a bunch of computers and you want to test out to see which Windows machines aren't patched. It scans for known vulnerabilities and so forth, and it'll pop up on a little icon showing you, hey, machine 123 is vulnerable, and then you can see which attacks it's susceptible to, and then you can go patch it.
Or an application like that, I know with Linux distros you do, but do you have to have a custom kernel patched up for being able to inject packets into it?
No, it uses oh man, I'm having a brain fart tonight. What is that network application that I used to use all the time for doing SYN scans? Oh man. Okay, I'll think of. There you go. There's your Ingress. Ingress Invite. Okay, I'm not going to think of this one. What? All right, Ingress Invite. It's a network tool. What am I thinking of? You can go to their website and download the application. They have it for Windows too, but in Linux, the application, I said most people actually use this in Linux, and Anti actually had it embedded in their application, and that's how they were able to do the scans. What is that called? Okay, so there you go. What is that? What am I talking about? What am I babbling and caring
I think
about?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't want to say it now because it's part of the question.
All right, Wookie, type it in chat. See if I'm right, or see if you're right. What is that called? Nmap. Matt Flaming got it. Nmap. There you go.
Yep.
Man, Wireshark's a good one too. I use Wireshark now. I don't use Nmap anymore. But Nmap, you're 100% right. All right, so I will message you, Matt. I can't believe I couldn't think of that. Nmap. Yeah, I will. Anti installs or uses Nmap scanning to.
We're all just used to getting happy of seeing a WP encrypted network and just going at it with air crack. That we're not.
Oh man, tonight's a brain fart show. I'll tell you that right now. It's all that partying, Wookie, that we did there a week and a half ago.
It's still taking a toll on me. So.
All right, Matt. I will get you your code here. I'm messaging it to you now.
Wait, we might have it down to seconds.
What?
So it was already made on the 24-minute, and his was posted at 38 seconds, but in IRC we have somebody posted at 24, but we don't know the seconds.
We're not watching IRC for that stuff. Pirate Ghost did say Nmap, yeah, but we're watching the.
Sorry, Pirate Ghost.
Sorry, Pirate Ghost.
If IRC only had a seconds counter. Sorry, dude.
Well, you can probably find it with a timestamp, but for all good reasons.
Yeah. No, we said in the beginning of the show that we were only doing it for the comments on the Hangout, so we could watch that.
Oh no, that's Matt Flam.
Oh, he's on IRC as well.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you go, Matt. I just on Google Plus, I just sent you the code there. Happy Ingressing, if that's a word. All right. So less brain farts. So back to. All this stuff I used to do and I just don't do anymore. All right, so per app DPI mods, custom ROMs and so forth. John, talk a little bit about what per app DPI is. What does that do?
So, the custom ROM that really started doing this was called Paranoid Android, and this is something that really became doable after Android 4 because Android 4 merged the phone and tablet code. And it does really similar to a web page where you have a custom layout based upon the DPI of a device, it's all kind of controlled by the manifest of the application itself, and it communicates with the build prop and other properties. So anyway, per app DPI is basically a framework that doesn't break applications, that allows you to trick an application into thinking that your phone may be a 7-inch tablet or the layout of a 10-inch tablet. And some of the modules and ROMs themselves give you pretty significant control over just how much you can get the layout set up as well as the size of the text. In my case, I have a Galaxy Note 2, and a lot of applications such as Gmail, if you give it a layout very similar to what like a Nexus 7 would have, you really get a lot more content and really don't have to be in certain parts of the application and you can break the application into fragments and have your inbox and all of those listed and the actual mail right beside it instead of having to go in a portion of an app and back out and then go to another one. So there are a lot of applications that really benefit from a tablet layout if you have a phone with the screen real estate to take advantage of it. And it can be a pretty cool thing to play around with.
And that's all programmable with the DPI per app in the ROM settings?
Yeah, well, Paranoid Androids is a proprietary APK, but theirs is really the most polished method. And you control it. The application is very simple. You can actually go into interface and set it across system-wide to say a phablet UI, a tablet UI that gives the whole system properties like the whole user interface on your launcher, your applications. Or you can go in and edit apps individually, which is what I would recommend because honestly, a tablet layout on a phone just really sucks as far as the small assets. And but from there, just have fun with it because there are a lot of apps can benefit from it.
I need to test out Paranoid Android. I haven't tested that out yet.
I haven't ran it in a while. I can't. You know what, Wookie? Whenever that is the ROM I'm going to run on our phone whenever we get AOSP support, or AOSPA as they're calling it. Paranoid Android looks awesome, the new version. I haven't ran it in a while, but I'm going to put it on my Nexus 7 probably this weekend just to play with that Pi, their expanded desktop, and the Pi radial menu. It looks pretty awesome. I'm excited to try that out. And then, hey, maybe next week I'll give Scott, since you're rocking the Nexus 4, and a Nexus 7 too, but why don't you put it on your Nexus 4 and I'll put it on my Nexus 7, and maybe we'll do a little mini review on air next week about it.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So speaking of devices, let's stop talking about rooting and ROMing apps here. We had a question from one of our longtime viewers. I like saying that. He wanted to know what we thought about Sony saying they're only going to make high-end phones now. They're only going to focus on the high end of the market. So we haven't heard from Wookie in a while. So Wookie, Sony said, we're only going to be baller. We're only going to work on baller status phones. What do you think of that?
I think it's a good thing, really. That said, because I've seen some of the lower end Sony phones a couple of years back, and they're really nothing to write home about. And on the other hand, I think we could really use a company that's just focused on providing really high end hardware and nothing but. And having seen some of that Sony stuff at CES, it seems like they're pretty well poised to be doing high end phones. We haven't seen them really in the real world yet, but some of the verses and just some of the hands-on we got to do, it seemed like some pretty impressive hardware. And if that's where they're starting, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where they're going to go after that.
The Z and the ZL look amazing.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, I would.
I'm ashamed that I wasn't there with y'all to be able to get CES to actually hold one because
I would run one, John. There was information came out today about. I'm going to be wrong in what country, so I'll just say somewhere in Europe, an LTE version of the Xperia Z. or ZL, one of the two. There's a it showed up somewhere with an LTE radio, so that made me twitch for a second, saying, "Wait a second, LTE. I wonder. I wonder if we would see a Verizon CDMA LTE Sony." Then I thought, no, we've never seen one. Never
Yeah.
mind.
The Xperia Play was a disaster.
Yeah, I would use that phone. I would get rid of my DNA, and I'd get the Xperia Z.
It looks
Exactly.
pretty
I was
sexy.
just about to say that. As a DNA owner, I love my DNA, but if I had my chance to get the hands on the Z, if I had the chance to get my hands on the Z, I would do it in a second. It really looks that good.
And you know what? We need somebody out there that's only focusing on high-end devices and to be known for the high-end devices. Because right now, every manufacturer makes
All different types of all tiers.
they make low-end crap phones that come with a year and a half old operating system on them that will never get updated beyond a 6-month patch. Then they have mid-range phones that come with a year-old operating system that will get updated once in the next year. Then you have a high-end device that, if you're lucky, it'll get 2 updates, and that's really it. And
Really, Samsung's really about the only manufacturer that can make any profit doing that because they control their entire supply chain.
Well, yeah. I mean, why do you think Samsung has every size imaginable of tablet and phone? Because
Crank it out.
they can. So Samsung, they make high-end devices, mid-range devices, mid-high-range devices, low-high-range. I mean, they don't care. They make everything, and I think it would be nice to have a company that you say, you know what, yeah, you want the best of the best. Well, right now, people look towards maybe like the S4 as a benchmark, or they'll look at a Nexus phone to be a benchmark or something like that, or they'll look at the latest iPhone to be a benchmark. It would be nice to say, here's Android's benchmark. It's the Sony line.
The Sony doesn't really have any kind of negative reputation to have to overcome, and they're a good brand name to consumers. So I think they're in a position to do it as much as anybody.
So Mike's jealous of all of our Nexus 7. So I got a Nexus 7. Scott has one. John actually got one at the Big Android Barbecue. Wookie, do you have a Nexus 7?
I don't even own a tablet.
You don't own a tablet. You know what? When I had my old Acer Iconia tablet, I kind of had to force myself into using it. It was one of those things where I was like, I paid $300 for this thing. I bought it because it was cheap. It was my first tablet. And I kind of bought a low-end model, but I forced myself to use it. But now, I love my Nexus 7. I use it almost every day. I love it. I don't have to force myself to use it. It's part of my normal routine now.
I can believe
same
it.
here.
I think about buying a Nexus 7 all the time. The only reason I keep holding off now is because I think we might see something better soon. And
Well,
then
yeah, the Nexus 7's 7 months or 6 months old. So
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's cheap and it's just something that you can throw around and it's fast and I mean it's really just kind of a pick it up and go type thing.
Well, look at it this way: in 5 months is I/O, and that will be, and then the Nexus 7 will be a year old. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll have something exciting to want to buy next.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll keep on pushing down the the low spec, low cost.
Well, I wouldn't see why not. They're selling 1 million of them a month.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they come out with.
I'll buy a new version of the Nexus 7 2 or whatever or like that latest rumor that we didn't even talk about because I don't believe it. A Nexus 7.7. I mean that's stupid. We're not going to see a Nexus.
Yeah, it does. That seems dumb. I don't think.
What I do with my current one, I just give it away to somebody that it's.
Or here's a thought. What if we do see a Nexus 7.7? It just gets rid of that massive bezel that's on the current Nexus 7.
You need the bezel.
You think?
Yeah, it's just so much like you need the bezel, or you need a better way of eliminating false touches. Kind of like
I agree with that. because people hold tablets differently than they do with their phone.
And what Windows is trying to do with their cancellation or whatever, not really working amazingly, but yeah, the bevel's nice. As much as it looks like a low-end device with the bevel, you need the bevel.
I totally agree.
Because the iPad Mini, barely any bevel.
Yeah, and that's one reason why the Note 2 and the phones and all that are like, oh my God, this is so big. Is because you're expected to hold it like a phone.
Yeah.
You're expected to wrap your hand around and actually use your finger to, where a Nexus 7 is designed to be a two-handed device.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I think we're about ready to call it an evening. We've extended our welcome, to say. If you guys have any other questions, comments, anything you want us to hit on real quick, let us know. If not, without further ado, Wookie, it was great to have you in here. I'd like to have you back.
See you again.
Yeah. I'd like to have you back again, and you have some good stuff to say. I'd like to have you back, if you'd want to in the following weeks. Let us know whenever you can make it. We'll get you in here, and we'll have some good talking points set up for you to hit on, and you're gonna be doing a lot of reviews for us here at Android Authority, right? You're doing a lot of video reviews and written reviews, right?
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of stuff queued up already.
Yeah, so I think it'd be nice to have you on the show to give a little teaser about some things you're planning on reviewing, have reviewed, you did a versus on, just a little. Yeah, I think that'd be good. And then for more information, they can hit your review and read it or watch it, and I think that'd be good for everybody. I know I'd like it. It would.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Now we just need to. We have another guy, the Josh Vergara, that was on last week. He couldn't make it tonight. He plans on coming on the show more regularly. So we're going to get some more guys from the Android Authority team on here to make this show even better. And so, you know what? We haven't had any new guests on in a while, and it's always good for new blood. And you guys don't want to hear me talk all the time. I talk too much anyway. So we need to get some new meat on the show. So Scott, where can all these guys find us?
YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube, live stream, comment there. You can also find us on Google Plus, Android Authority Google Plus page. We check the comments there regularly on the post. Also, you can find us in IRC, and I don't know the channel for it. Do you?
You don't know that.
I don't.
You're logged into this.
Where are you?
I'm in the channel, but I don't know what the
I
channel
see
is.
Andersauce1214 right now, logged
It's not
in
me.
the damn channel I'm in, and you don't
That's
know
not
how
me.
you got here. What do you just click a link? Like,
Yes.
you that guy that has like 902 viruses on their system?
I
Oh,
clicked the
email
link and I
Let's click
filled out a
this.
CAPTCHA.
Oh man.
Okay. Also on AndroidAuthority.com, if you scroll on the bottom right, there's a section called On Air. After every episode, we post a little something about the episode and give a little bit of details. Also, we're available on SoundCloud if you don't want to stream our video and think we're ugly or just want to listen to the audio when you're going to work. Awesome.
All right, so congrats on those of you that got your Ingress invites, and Matt, I feel sorry for your son or daughter who spends all that time setting up their portals, setting up their massive control fields, and then mom or daddy, or you're Matt, so obviously you're your daddy. So daddy's gonna go through and destroy all their kids' work. That's real nice, Father. I'll do the exact same thing when my son's older. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next week with more Android news and more guests, and maybe we'll try to get some more giveaways here. Also, our 1 year anniversary is coming up soon. This is episode 47. So here in a couple weeks, we'll be hitting week 52, 1 year anniversary, and I think we're gonna have a big giveaway for you. Stay tuned.
Have a good night.
These guys.